Okay, so let's get right into it. Have you ever written a chord progression where, on paper it's perfect, the theory all checks out, the chords are right, but when you actually play it, something just feels off, kind of clunky or disconnected? Yeah, well, you are definitely not alone, and the fix is probably way simpler than you think.
We're all chasing that professional sound, right? We want our music to feel smooth and emotional, like it's all connected and taking the listener on a journey. The last thing we want is that jumpy, distracting quality that just pulls you right out of the moment. That gap between the two can feel absolutely massive, but trust me, we're going to close it today.
And here's the big secret. It's probably not what you're thinking. It's not about finding fancier, more complicated chords. The real magic, the key to unlocking that pro sound, is in the space between the chords. It's all about the transition. That's it.
What we're really talking about here is the invisible architecture of your music. It's a concept called voice leading, and it's basically the hidden framework that makes great harmonies sound so powerful and just feel so good.
So real quick, let's just refresh on harmony. Harmony is all about the chords themselves, how a bunch of notes sound together at the same time. It's basically what the chords are. A C major, a G major, that kind of thing.
Voice leading, though, is how those chords behave. It forces us to stop thinking about chords as these big, clunky blocks of notes. Instead, you start seeing them as a collection of individual notes, or voices. And voice leading is the art of guiding each one of those voices smoothly to where it needs to go in the next chord. Here's a fantastic way to picture it. Imagine your chord is a small choir. To get to the next chord, you wouldn't want your singers to be leaping all over the stage, right? No way. Instead, each singer should just take the shortest, most efficient path to their next note. And it's that efficiency, that smoothness, that our ears hear as beautiful music. So, if that's the goal, how do we actually do it? Well, it all boils down to one simple but incredibly powerful idea: the golden rule of voice leading. And here it is. Move each voice by the smallest possible interval. That's the whole game. Instead of just jumping from the root of one chord to the root of the next, you look for the absolute closest note. It's all about economy of motion. Okay, and this slide right here shows the difference perfectly. On the left, you've got your standard C to G change. Every note makes a huge jump. It just sounds clunky. But look at the right. By using a slightly different version of that G chord, that's an inversion, the G note stays exactly where it is, the C moves just one little step down to B, and the E moves just one step down to D. We're playing the exact same chords, but the feeling, it's a world of difference.
So this gives you a super simple checklist to use every time you write. Priority number 1, can any notes just stay where they are? If not, okay. Priority 2, can they move by just a single step? And then, only as a last resort, priority 3, make a jump. Seriously, following this little list will totally transform your progressions.
So how does this golden rule actually look in practice? Well, it gives us 2 really effective techniques we can use immediately. Think of these as your new secret weapons for writing smooth harmony.
Secret weapon number 1 is the common tone. It's just a fancy name for a note that 2 chords in a row happen to share. And the trick is so simple. Just keep that note where it is. It becomes this little anchor that stitches the 2 chords together. It's the easiest win in all of harmony.
Here's a classic example, going from a C major chord to an A minor chord. What note do they both have? The E. So instead of replaying that E, you just hold it, let it ring out. That one single note provides this beautiful, elegant link that glues the 2 chords together.
And secret weapon number 2 is stepwise motion. This is your next best thing. See, it turns out our brains are basically hardwired to find movement by small steps, a half step or a whole step, to be really pleasing and logical. It's what makes melodies easy to sing and what makes harmonies feel like they just belong together.
Okay, so we've covered the how, but let's talk about the why. Why does any of this technical stuff even matter? Because it translates directly to emotional impact. This isn't just dry music theory, it's the science of what makes music actually feel good.
Take one of the most powerful chord changes in all of Western music, the 5-to-1 cadence. Think about the end of pretty much any nursery rhyme. That feeling of, we're home. That isn't magic, it's just perfect voice leading in action.
So when we go from a G chord to a C chord, what are the individual notes doing? Well, the B in that G chord, which musicians call the leading tone, is just a tiny half step away from the final C. Our ears are just dying for it to make that tiny move.
At the same time, the D in the G chord naturally wants to step down to C. It's this beautiful little dance of tiny movements that creates that satisfying, feeling of resolution.
It really all comes down to this number, 1, a single half step. That tiny, tiny musical distance carries a massive amount of emotional weight. It builds tension, and then it releases it. All because our brains love that stepwise motion. It's minimum movement from maximum effect.
Here's a really great way to tie all this together. Think of melody as the horizontal part of your song. It's the story, it's the part you hum. Harmony is the vertical part. It's the emotion, it's the part you feel. Voice leading, then, is the invisible thread that makes sure the emotion is always perfectly supporting the story.
And really, that's the whole goal, isn't it? You want that amazing, unforgettable melody to sit on top of harmony that isn't just correct, but is intelligent and thoughtful and emotionally powerful. That's what voice leading gives you.
So I'll leave you with this little challenge. The next time you listen to one of your favorite songs, don't just hear the chords as blocks. Try to listen inside them. What little invisible movements can you hear that make the song feel so good? Happy listening.